again to Making College Campus Tours Worth Your Time. I'm Dr. Amy Morgenstern, founder and CEO of Blue Stars Admissions Consulting, where personal growth leads the way to top colleges. And speaking of personal growth, tonight we're going to talk about personalized college tours, the kind of customized tours that help students in their own unique, individualized admissions journey. And on this subject, I'm really excited to chat with Ayush Krishnamurthy and Neil Narayan of Ember College Tours. Ayush and Neil have created a whole new experience for visiting college campuses, and I'm really excited to have them share their new service with you and also talk a little bit about what it's like to apply to Stanford, to get into Stanford Restricted Early Action, REA, as we like to say, and what it's like to be a Stanford undergraduate. First, I would like to just share out the agenda notes super quick. We just did the welcome. I'm going to introduce Ayush and Neil in a moment. They are going to give their presentation on making college campus tours worth your time. We've got time for questions and answers, and then there'll be a closing. So first, I'd really love to introduce Blue Stars Admissions Consulting, where, as I said, personal growth leads the way. It's a really core principle of the work that we do. And we find that when we help students feel confident from the inside out, that leads to amazing admissions results. And I just want to quickly introduce my wonderful team. Helen Ingerson and Jen Turfler are both full-service college counselors. They offer everything from internship placement to time management skills, to building your school list, to essay coaching. And I am so lucky to have such amazing colleagues. We mostly work with STEM students, but we also specialize in helping students feature their creativity or their art into their admissions journey. Some of our students apply to art school, and we have our own designated art mentor, Aliza Cohn. Before we get started, I just want to let people know that Blue Stars offers so much more than just filling out applications. And as you can see here, just in the instance of Stanford, our own admissions rate is 11 times higher than Stanford's admissions rate. And as you can see from the right side, where we have our 7 core principles that we operate by with every student, number one, of course, is personal growth leads the way. And I believe that there's a really strong correlation between our emphasis on personal growth and our admissions rate with the students and families who work with us. And now I think it is time to introduce our special guests. And here we have Ayush Krishnamurthy, hi Ayush, who's a founder of Ember, and he's a Stanford University senior. His major is management, science, and engineering. And we also have Neil Narayan. Welcome, Neil. And Neil is a co-founder of Ember, and he is also a senior at Stanford in computer science and computational engineering. Welcome, guys. It's so nice to have you with us.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
I think first we'll share screen on our side.
Perfect.
So there's currently there's a huge issue with college tours. You have large group sizes where you're not able to ask any personalized questions. You have a scripted itinerary where everything you do has been outlined before and is not personalized to you. And you have this aesthetic emphasis where when you're applying to a school like Stanford, applying to a school like Harvard, you want to know more about the programs that separate it from each college. You don't want to see this building who was built after this person, etc. And so we tried to address this problem with Ember. What is Ember? We essentially offer authentic firsthand experiences. Right now, we have 4 sort of offerings. One is one-on-one tours, which directly addresses the college tours. Virtual chats, which allow you to engage in meaningful conversation with current students. And then in-person coffee chats, which sort of marries the two. We wanted to keep a very simple 4-step process to finding someone to talk to. So we first onboard our guide, onboard you, and then you can find from a wide variety of guides whoever matches best with you. Then you relax, let us figure out who's available at the time that you asked for, and then you enjoy the experience. So I think right now we're gonna actually talk about how Ember itself works on the back
I
end.
just can I
Showing
interrupt
you a little bit.
you guys for 1 second?
Yes,
Please,
go ahead.
please.
I do want to, I know, because we've been talking for a while over the last few months, and I know we're calling this college tours, but for you guys, it's really important for it to be an experience.
That's right.
So I just wanted to emphasize that and just be aligned with
The
that.
truth is that we're looking for those transparent experiences, and we want you to be in the shoes of a student before you actually are a student. And that the reasons are threefold, but we're going to get into that in a second. First, we'll go to our website. We'll show you a little bit about what Ember looks like on that end. Then we'll talk about exactly how Ember can help out. We really think that navigating through the website will be best, and then we'll talk a little bit about our journey. So
yeah, awesome. Well, it's great to see everyone here. I'm gonna begin sharing. Can we see the screen?
Yes.
Do you see the website?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Beautiful. Well, hey everyone, welcome to Ember. This is our landing page. You're welcome to check it out at touремber.com. So this is where all the magic happens. This is where you begin your experience. So we can come through our landing page. This is what we offer. We offer personalized, exclusive experiences to students from all backgrounds. As I used briefly walked us through, there are a lot of problems with current college tours. And the reason you take these college tours are to get a more authentic feel of the university. That's the only reason you go and you walk around the campus and you try to talk to other students and you try to figure out, at least in the case of Stanford, is Stanford University the right place for me? But as we've outlined here, there's large group sizes. You don't get the true answers. The question and answer time is always at the end of the tour when everyone's tired. Everyone, you don't really know if you can ask a question because you don't want to be judged by anyone else. A lot of aesthetic emphasis, a lot of what Ayush brought up. This building was built for this person. Limited availability as well. Scheduling is a problem. But at Ember, we offer our experiences at any time throughout the entire year.
Hold on, let me interrupt. As a college counselor, I've been on a lot of college tours. And I want to say that some of them don't even give you time for questions.
right.
Some places too. So I just wanted to interject. Like sometimes you get a limited time for questions, and sometimes there's no time for questions. So
right, and we're happy to have you guys ask us questions at any time during the experience. We also show you around the local area because we believe that a university is not just defined by its campus, but as well as everything around it. And we offer experiences up to 1.5 hours in length. So we really want you to understand what the university is before you apply. As I just briefly walked us through it, it's a simple 4 steps. You create an account, you search, and I'm going to walk you through the search process. Let us schedule everything and begin your experience. So what we can see here is we do a few guide spotlights. So this guide, her name is Rihanna Ryan. She's an aerospace major from Houston, Texas. And what we do when a student searches is we let them see personality in a guide, because it's one thing for you to match to a student that may want to major in the same thing as you or study the same thing as you. We believe at Ember that personality is incredibly important, and we want to make sure that the person you're matched with truly matches who you are. So we can actually see what her favorite thing to do is on campus, the most exciting part. So we offer all of these answers for a student to say, okay, Ria truly is the person that I want. And here we just have a few animations here. What we're essentially trying to show is the fact that no matter what your interests may be, no matter how multifaceted they are, we offer somebody for you. And then down below, these are real guides that have onboarded onto Ember and are ready to make your experience. Now, as Amy briefly mentioned, we structured our pricing in a way where it's accessible to everyone. We're not trying to price gauge here. We're really trying to make this experience accessible to anyone. So we offer 4 experiences. We have 2 virtual chats, 1 in-person, and 2 in-person experiences. The idea here is that if you're not able to come to campus, we want to make sure that you can still hop on a Zoom call, kind of as we're doing right now. And the format would be you're sitting on the other side of the computer asking us any questions that you might have. And the beauty at Ember is we're answering everything. There's no awkward question. There's no dumb question. There's no, I don't know if I should ask that question. It's rip off all the bandages, say whatever it is that you want. We want to give you an answer. That's the entire purpose of what we've told our guides to do. As we said, if you're not comfortable giving up information, then maybe Ember is not the right platform for you. But if you're happy to help students that truly want an inside look at a university and how everything really is, welcome to Ember. So that's what we do. So I'm actually going to walk you through the process of getting a guide. And the whole point here is it's super fast. So I'm going to sign in with an account that I've already created just for demonstration purposes. So we can sign in right here. And this is where it all begins. This is our search page. So as soon as you sign into Ember, what you can do is you can start filtering on your guides. We offer 3 different criteria. You can match based on the major that you're majoring in or what you want to study. Ayush, for example, is a mechanical engineering major. So as a high schooler, if I want to major in mechanical engineering, I can search through all the majors and put Mech E. I can put product design. I can put computer science, adjacent related majors. We also allow you to filter by tags. So tags are just things that people identify with. So I, for example, have clicked the sports tag. I'm interested in sports. I watch a lot of college sports, as does Ayush. Ayush plays guitar, so he's a music guy, as you can see with the guitars in the background. So we allow this for personality. And also we recognize that around the country, there are different biases. We want to make sure that you can filter on home state to figure out, okay, what does a Texan look like at this school? What does a New Yorker look like at this school? So we can just get into it. Let's say I select, as I mentioned, the sports tag. So I come in here and I click sports. So we see 6 different guides that come up. And these are the 6 highest ranked guides based on your search criteria. Now, one thing you might be wondering is why we anonymize. And the reason why is we hide all the information to protect the information of our guides. And then once you book the experience, you can see everything. So what we notice here, we can take FA and we click on see more. And this is where you get all the personality. So his favorite thing to do on campus is socialize on the road. His message to you high schoolers is that whatever expectations you have, raise them, and you're still wrong. That's how great Stanford is. So he's trying to show you what all he enjoys at Stanford. He's a senior from Katy, Texas, which is a little bit outside of Houston. So what we can do here is FA is actually ranked higher than JR, for example. But I click on JR and I see that he's interested in international relations, and it happens to be something I'm interested in as well. So what we allow you to do is modify the preferences and get the exact person that you want. So let's come here and search. We can search for mechanical engineering. And there we go. We have AK's Ayush Krishnamurthy. He pops up. So he's our first rank. He's the best choice for you. So if you want to study mechanical engineering and you're looking, you might be interested in sports. Ayush is also interested in outdoors. So we can click on outdoors. He'll still be the first ranked. But we can come here and see that Ayush is a part of the Solar Car Club here, the Stanford Real Estate Club, and the Blythe Fund. So we get all the personality and we see all the information that we want to be able to match on a person. So these are our top 6 matches. And then you're pretty much done. You just book the experience. So we come here, and this is where we brought in the aspect of personality. Let's say I click on MG, and I actually realize that she's very interested in space and aerospace engineering. And I'm a mechanical engineering major, but I want to work on rockets. Maybe MG might be better ranked for me. So I can put in here, I would prefer to match with MG. And we're the ones matching this. We use a really sophisticated algorithm on the back end to match based on personality and tags and majors. But we want to give you the freedom to change that. At the end of the day, it's a computer program running it, but you are students and we care about your preferences. So if you want to come here and say, look, AK is ranked number 1, but I actually prefer MG, great. We're going to set you up with MG. So you just give us that information. So we can come down, we can click on all these people's tabs, see all their information, and then we can finally make a choice saying, okay, I want MG or I want ER, whatever the case may be. Then this is all just logistic stuff. We figure out what dates we want. So let's say I want from now until 8th. So I want any time between this Sunday and this Wednesday. And maybe I'm the best times I'm available are any time between 7 a.m. and let's say 8 p.m. Just for example's sake. 8 p.m. Then if you have any other accommodations, if you want to be matched with a person that speaks a specific language, if you want to see certain things, throw whatever information you want in here. I would prefer a Spanish speaker and my tour to be, wheelchair accessible. Any request you might have, we accommodate because we have a network of guys that are willing to make this experience as personal as possible. Then we throw in all the information here. So let's say I'm booking a tour. I would put in Neil Narayan. I am 21. Maybe in high school, I would be, 19, whatever the case may be. I put in my phone number and then my party size and all that information. And then this is where you select what experience you want. Do you want an in-person experience or a virtual experience? Let's say I prefer an in-person experience. We care a lot about safety at Ember, and this is very important. If you're booking an in-person experience, there must be at least one parent or legal guardian present because we want to make sure that we protect everyone involved. Now, if it's a virtual experience, that's not necessary. I can click there's no parent coming, and that's totally fine. But if it's an in-person experience, we have to let that happen. I'm going to put in a party size of, let's just say 3 people, whatever the case may be. And I'm done. I can just confirm and pay. So now all this information is sent to us at Ember. It's going to load for a quick second, and then we're going to be taken to the payment portal. And once you pay, you just select whatever offering you might want, and you're good to go. So as we've already shown on the landing page, maybe I might want a virtual experience for 1 hour. I just want to chat from the comfort of my own bed to some student. I just want to have a quick little conversation. So I click on pay, and you're taken to this page right here. This is our payment page. It's handled by Stripe, so all the payment is handled securely. And as soon as you click pay, your experience is being scheduled. We are working on it. Like it's Ayush and I on the back end. But as soon as we get that little notification saying Sally has booked a tour, or Tom wants this experience, we're already contacting our guides. The way it works is we've ranked 1 through 6. So we go to the first person and we say, hey, are you able to accommodate this experience? And they say, oh, I have an exam today. I might not be able to. No worries. We go to the second person. They say, yes, let's do it. As soon as we get the green light from them, we schedule that experience, give you the information you need, and you get that Ember experience. So that's the entire pipeline. I hope what you understand is it's a really fast process. You can go from creating an account to booking an experience within 5 minutes. We care a lot about personalization here. Yeah. Anything you might want, we're happy to accommodate. So that is Ember. That is the end-to-end platform. I will give you control again, Amy, if you. Oh, okay. We can also.
Actually, we'll continue to.
Yeah, I think you guys had a few more slides. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me do that.
I think the key about what Neil was kind of showing there was just how personalized we're trying to make this. We're trying to really make it so that you can find somebody that you could see yourself being, and then you can talk to them about pretty much anything. Like, let's say I have a question about, what was their background in high school? I can understand, oh, this person was very passionate about X, Y, and Z and pursued their passion through these means. And that's what, might have been the reason what got them in. Obviously, everyone we know, like who's going to Stanford and in schools like Stanford, they have great SAT scores, great ACT, great GPA. What separates a Stanford student from someone who ends up not coming to Stanford is their essays. And it's their stories. And those are the stories that we're trying to communicate across with them.
And that's why we have this Ask Me Anything. Like, if you want to say, hey, if you want to ask about admissions advice, please do. Do you think it's a good idea to write an essay about X, Y, and Z? And we'll give our honest opinion. We may not be right, but we're only speaking from our personal experience. I'm vegetarian, for example. If you want to ask me, how is the food at Stanford? I'll tell you very honestly, for vegetarians, it's not the best. For meat eaters, it's great. But for me, it's not. So any question you might have about getting into Stanford, living at Stanford, experiencing Stanford, we're here to help you through that.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what we're talking about here. The authenticity is our biggest offering. But also there's the idea that if you're talking to someone who's gone through the whole admissions process already, and you know that it's been done, and it suddenly seems a lot more feasible, and the amount of stress that you have towards it should drastically decrease.
Absolutely.
So right now we're live at Stanford and UC Berkeley. We are expanding to the Ivies, the rest of the UCs. We have established connections at Duke, Notre Dame, and Rice, and that should be done by early 2024. Yeah. We are excited. Today is actually the day that we're going live at Berkeley, so we're excited to start offering that. We have over 50 guides at Stanford, and we're starting to onboard some guides at Berkeley.
Yeah, and the reason why we're waiting to expand until 2024 is we have a thorough vetting process at each university. So what we do is we select what we call an ambassador, and they vet every single guide at that school. We don't know any students at Berkeley, but we want to make sure that if a Berkeley guide onboards, they're going to give a good experience. They're not going to be quiet on the call. They're not going to be reserved. They're going to be happy, boisterous, excited to give you whatever answer you may want. So we have that ambassador vet that person and say, person A will give a good experience, maybe not so much person B. That's the reason we have this expansion plan. And I think we.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go a little bit about us. I might start a little bit about my background, how I ended up at this startup, but more specifically what I did throughout high school to end up at Stanford in the first place. I applied as an engineering major. I was not really sure which one, so I kind of just went general engineering. My background consisted of, I did a little bit of research in biochemistry at UT Health Science, which is based in the medical center in Houston. I was focused on a certain receptor and the way that it moved upon pH activation. But what I really think I was passionate about and what I really pursued was public transportation. And the way I did this was my junior year of college. I'd always been passionate about public transportation, especially in a city like Houston, where it's not really there. And my junior year of high school, I decided I was going to pursue a passion project related to it. Houston was building a bus rapid transit line in the uptown area, which is a bustling area near where both of us live.
Yeah.
And they, in a way, I saw it as a bridge to nowhere. It was starting from one transit center going to another, but it wasn't reaching any areas of interest. Specifically, I tied it to my family. My grandma was working in that area, and it was tough for her to come home because there was no great public transit. And, you know, this line had the opportunity to fix that, but it wasn't. So that's why it originally started. I did a bunch of quantitative research, consulted with a infrastructure consulting group, learned how to model the financial incentives and the ridership projections, modeled it, and then presented it to the Metro Authority in Houston. And I got them to eventually add it into their 2040 plan to extend the line an extra 2 miles into my neighborhood. I think that was my biggest essay and the biggest thing that I was really, really passionate about. And I still am. So after that, I also wrote an essay about food reviews. I wrote about ratatouille, and like I wanted to show that I'm a personable person as well, and I have this personality that's outside of quantitative research, etc.
Which essay was that? Which Stanford essay was that about?
It was, tell us something you're passionate about. That's the one that I chose to write about food reviews. I wrote my Common App about the passion project in transportation. But tell us something you're passionate about. I wrote about how I review different restaurants throughout the world anytime I go travel. And I hold myself to a high standard, just like Antoine Ego and Ratatouille. So that's all about me. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of this about my journey, but I'm gonna actually pass it over back to Neil and let him tell you guys about his journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. For context, by the way, Ayush and I are both from Houston. We did not know each other in high school, but we actually met at the admit reception. We've been like really close friends ever since. That kind of fits into the inception of Ember. But yeah, as I said, I'm from Houston. I applied underneath material science. So throughout my high school years, I did a lot of research at Rice University in material science and nanoengineering. I can't tell you why it interested me. I just thought it was cool. Like, to be very naive, I remember in high school thinking, how do items work at the nanoscale and how can I be a part of that? And that's what spurred my interest in chemistry and physics. And I ended up going to Rice and doing research in their labs. I was specifically focused on sustainability. So one of my large projects at Rice was developing these biopolymer frameworks for carbon dioxide capture. And it was during my time at Rice where I was using all these crazy machines and doing all this lab work that I began to fill this role as a technical person. I realized that I am by nature a technical person. I enjoy software and I enjoy working with my hands, which is why I think I was so interested in material science. So I stuck with that. And outside of Rice, my other, for lack of a better word, spike, I guess is maybe the way to say it, was in my volunteer efforts with students with Down syndrome. So in America, special needs and disabilities are respected and they're given funding, but it's very difficult in other countries to be able to help adults and kids with special needs. And I volunteered at the Down Syndrome Association of Houston, which is a nonprofit in Houston, and they were setting up an overseas chapter in Bangladesh to help students there because in Bangladesh there's a strict stigma against people with special needs. So I did what I could to be able to set up that chapter. I worked on the technical side of it, which was basically creating slide decks and informational materials to send over, sending tactile materials because children with Down syndrome they have trouble using their hands as dexterously. So I wanted to be able to help in Houston as well as in Bangladesh. So those are my two things, was my Rice research and my advocacy efforts. In terms of essays, the way I approached them was, first of all, I want to acknowledge that when I wrote it, there were 11 essays. So it's a lot. It's a tough process. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. But what I do think is important to realize is that the person reading your application does not know you. They know nothing about you. So what you are trying to do is show exactly who you are in 11 essays. Which, you know, on a Friday night when you want to go out with your friends and you have to write an essay, you're like, oh, why do I have to write so much? But in the grand scheme of things, 11 essays is nothing. It's a really small amount of words. So you have to be very precise in the way you portray yourself. And I think my philosophy was, look, I'm starting from zero and I need to get to Neil. I need to go from nothing to who I am. And every essay, what I did is I tried to highlight a different aspect of my personality. What I also think it's important to do is don't regurgitate your application in your essay. And again, this is just my opinion. I can't base this on anything, but if you already put that I've done X, Y, and Z activities in your application, there's no need to again say it in the essays. Talk about personality in the essays because that's why they exist. There's no question on the application that says rate your personality on a scale of 1 to 10. It's done in the essays, and that's what I think the important part is. So that's me. I'm, again, happy to answer any questions you might have had about the admissions process, but that's our story and how we got to Stanford.
Right. This is what Neil was talking about he developed his narrative of he's done XYZ activities, and now he wanted to develop the narrative of who he is. And so that's what the focus on personality was for him. But yeah, these are our 3 steps to any application. Start early. It's early. It's important to start early, and then develop the narrative of who you want to be, because you can create that. And that's where I think Ember really fits in. You can create that narrative by talking to a Stanford student who has done it, has created their own narrative, and see, oh, okay, wow, I really like this aspect of it. Oh, I really liked how he pursued this passion, but also worked on something that matters, something that was bigger than him. Blah, 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 whatever it needs to be, you can learn from a student better than you can learn from anyone else about your narrative. And then obviously you work with Amy and you guys develop that narrative to be, what it needs to be for essays, and you commit to it. And that's the whole process. So
I want to draw emphasis to exactly what he said is you have to create a narrative here. And I, just as he said about Ember, is we want to help you create that narrative. And the way we're doing that is we're saying, forget about all these generic college tours. Come here, talk to a student who's been through it, and then be able to craft information about a school. I remember when I went into my interview, my Stanford interview, the first question I was asked was, what do you know about Stanford? It was the first question I was asked. My assumption is the reason they're asking me is because they want me to have shown demonstrated interest. And what we're doing at Ember is providing you with a means of achieving that demonstrated interest, because you're booking this experience because you are interested. Case in point, right? So we want to give you that ability to craft that narrative and then work with Amy and put together the best application that you can.
What did you tell? What was your answer?
For which question? For my narrative?
What do you know about Stanford?
Oh, I said, so I had actually come here and done research. So I collaborated with a Stanford professor as part of my research at Rice University. So I said, first of all, I know the weather is fantastic. I remember we would do our lab work outside and then go back into the lab. But I also said there's an emphasis at Stanford, not just on the research work that's done, but on the impact that it has. So I remember a lot of the projects I was working on with Stanford professors was not what are we going to get done, but it's what is it going to achieve. So there would be projects that were tabled because one was determined to have greater impact than the other. So I think a lot of what happens at Stanford is incredibly intentional, and that's something that I really prioritize in my life is intentionality.
That is an excellent answer.
Oh, thank you.
Well, obviously.
That's what Stanford did. And that's what I want to be able to help students understand is, look, Stanford prioritizes a lot of great things and maybe some not so good things, but we're here to give you those answers.
Well, what I'm enjoying right now in this webinar is hearing your extensive, rich narratives, because, for the students and parents who work with us and people who are also new to Blue Stars, who are thinking about college planning, people come with simpler stories in their minds, in their imaginations than what's really expected. So having these concrete examples and talking about your passion projects in this extensive way, I think is very helpful. So first of all, before we get questions, I just want to say thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And we're happy to field any questions you might have, I believe. Yeah, I mean, that's the end of our slides. It's the link, I think Amy might have sent it to you guys. It's tourember.com. Experiences are ready to go. We're live at Berkeley. We're ready to have you. We're ready to match you with a student that's just like you. You can contact us at these emails. These are our personal emails. We get back to you pretty quickly. Thank you for having us, Amy, and we're happy to answer any questions.
One thing I have a question about Ember is I forget what the contact people are called. Do they call experience guide? I don't know what they're
guides.
Yeah.
Guides. Are they available over break?
Yeah.
So a lot of them are some of them are from the area, like something like Thanksgiving break. A lot of students end up not leaving campus. So they're available during Thanksgiving break. It's like we haven't built in a scheduling template in there yet, but essentially that's why we have 6 people. So you will get one of those 6 almost certainly.
Okay. I'm asking because our students generally have time,
Yeah.
over break. They're studying really hard, like, I'm sure,
Sure, yeah.
Let me ask you this question. How would you say, like, being in college compares to being in high school? Is it like more or less stressful, more or less fun? How can you talk about that? Because high school is so hard for the students we work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give them a sense of the future, what they're working toward.
Yeah, no, I think my high school experience was marked, at least for the first couple of years, by I love high school, greatest time of my life. Homecoming games are fantastic. I like going to class. I hate waking up early, but I love the day. And it started to then kind of devolve into I got to go home and work on essays. And it wasn't the best transition, but I think what you end up doing in that period of time as you're applying to college is you start understanding how important time management is, because every second is important. And I truly mean that, especially for the schools that your students are applying to. Every second is important for them. So I can at least stand for myself and say I got a lot better at time management, because prior to admissions I was not. And now I think I've gotten a lot better. I think in college, it's way easier to kind of lose track of your time. I mean, no one's policing us, right? If I want to go hang out with Ayush tonight and I have an assignment due tomorrow, I can, right? Whereas in high school, it's a lot more structured. So I think it's important to realize that when you come here and begin to live on your own, there are a lot of things that you're going to make mistakes. And I've made a lot of time management mistakes, just general mistakes. But what you come to realize is high school, there's structure, college, there's not. And as soon as you break into that role of structuring your own life, everything becomes a lot easier.
Oh, you are preaching to the choir here, because when we start off with students in 8th or 9th grade, it's time management training, and it's brain training, it's habit forming. It's a core piece of the work that we do. And we see students become more confident as a result.
Yeah. That confidence translates to college too.
Absolutely.
We say too, we prepare students for college and beyond. And often the students we work with, they will report back that they feel much more like cool and organized,
Right.
and decisive than a lot of their peers who didn't practice time management. And it is like a sport, it's something it's building certain kinds of muscles, so.
Yeah.
Great topic. It's one of my favorite topics.
And just for the people in the chat, I was just gonna say, like, there's no dumb question, there's no awkward question. You want to know anything, test scores, you want to know our weirdest secret, like there's no question that we're not okay answering. Like we're here to field anything you guys might have if that was a concern.
I see one of my students is in here, so he can certainly ask a question.
Yeah.
Let me try and think of what else. When you said the food review essay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out which question that was, because I remember the curiosity question.
I can actually tell. So I wrote a different essay for that one. I'll tell you what the first sentence was, and then I'll explain it. But the first sentence was, I almost sent rats to space.
Nice.
So it's about, like, I tried out for a competition, doing a lot of work. I was super into biochemistry when I was like just starting out. And so I was in 9th grade, 10th grade, I applied to a competition focused on sending, experiments to space, to the ISS. And I was a finalist in this competition. I ended up not winning it, but I honestly, it was a great experience. Like I had to like defend my experiment in front of like these like NASA folks, and it was grueling, but it was a blast. I had a great time.
That sounds like amazing training, an excellent experience, trial by fire, and personal growth all together in one. I really like the way Neil is talking about, like, after I went off on time management, but just the idea, like, okay, I'd really rather hang out with my friends, I'd rather play a video game, but I got to work on my college planning stuff, or I have to work on my essays, or my essay for a summer program. And it's really valuable to hear you say that. And I often find that our students, like, by the second semester, 10th grade, they're like, we've got them. We've got their attention.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
But if you could start earlier than that,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the earlier the better. I remember I wrote my first draft for I think the first essay I wrote was it was my roommate essay. It was a letter to my roommate, or a message to my roommate. That was the first one I wrote because I figured it's gonna. Oh, I think we have a question. But I was gonna say it seemed to me like the most personality showing one. I mean, I'm gonna live with this person. And I remember I began that on a flight that I was taking in early June for my application deadline on October 31st. So the earlier, the better. I mean, it gave me the most time to think. I remember I wrote an essay. I tied in caving into that essay, and then the final product turned out to involve coconut water and Rubik's cubing. I mean, it was incredibly random. The whole point of this is like there's an evolution of every single essay, and to rush it is to not give enough time to show who you really are. And if you just start grinding gears together and hope something comes out, yeah, you'll get an essay. I personally would not have felt comfortable submitting my essay to my roommate about a cave that I enjoyed walking through, but I know full well, and I was going to live with Ayush. I actually showed him my roommate essay, and he's not a big coconut water fan, but I am. So it's stuff like that.
I am.
We're all there. We see. So you're
I know.
So we want to highlight like we're people also.
Right.
Everyone at Stanford goes through problems, has their own trials and tribulations. But what shines through the essays is personality, and exactly as you said, crafting that narrative that you want the admissions officers to see.
And what's interesting is people think, oh, if I just write a one-off, that's my personality.
Oh, it has to, there should be a thread. I read my admissions file actually. So I came to the admissions office and I used to do it. We walked through what the admissions officer said about us. And in summary, what mine was there's a common thread. There's a narrative that fits the entire essay. I also, and this is my own thought, I don't know if this is actually true, but I remember having my English teacher, my high school English teacher, write my recommendation. And I remember them making a comment about how they liked my essays. And so I presume that had the English teacher recommendation have been weak and the essays have been really good, there would have been some disconnect. So, I mean, you have to have all pieces come together. And
the game has to be tight.
Exactly. Absolutely.
They're holistic in the way that they review your application, but you need to be holistic in the way that you craft it as well.
Absolutely.
And so I think it goes both ways.
What I've lived my entire life by, and I don't know that it's the right way to do it, but this is how I've done things, is the only deadline to me that matters is when it has to be done. And I set my own deadlines before. I know that the application is due on October 31st. So even if in theory I have planned to have the Common App done by August 1st, if it's not, that just means I get more time to work on it and more time to improve it and more time to make it better. So the only deadline I think students should be mindful of is when it's a hard cut. Like you cannot submit your application post this date. Right. That to me is the deadline that you should be worried about. And you should have mental checkpoints. I would like to be here at this point. But if it is the case that you need to do a little bit more introspection, you need to do a little bit more research, you need to get into the zone to be able to write, take as much time as you need, because time spent doing that is way more valuable than time throwing down words on an application that don't mean anything.
Yeah. I think I see a question in the chat.
I think if somebody's asking like were you divided from, well, you were admitted Stanford restricted early, so you didn't have any other colleges on your like radar at that point.
Like I was a little bit between, so UT, University of Texas, I considered for a little bit just because it was in state and I had a full scholarship there. So that was like super interesting to me, but also like in my application process, I had to think pretty hard about which one I wanted to REA to, because it's restrictive. You don't get to it anywhere else.
You only get one.
And they don't defer. Stanford defers very few students.
Very few. It's very few. It's, I think like their acceptance rate early is about the same as their deferral rate early. But the way I chose Stanford was just through those initial college visits, and I really wasn't 100% sure about it. And that's part of the reason that we started this, is because both of us kind of talked about it. We were like, isn't it crazy that we're both here? Like, what are the odds of that, right? And we kind of talked about it, and we're like, yeah, we only went with Stanford because, well, A, reputation, but B, like, I walked around engineering quad and I thought it was one of the most beautiful campuses.
It was that one experience. It was like that one experience we needed.
Talk to a student. So
one thing we needed to bring us here. It was like that one, whatever you want to call it, that ignition, that one conversation with a student, that one tour that he took of the engineering quad, that one time you were in the right place at the right time. that is what spurred our interest.
And
That's what Ember is.
yeah.
That one, we're that flicker. We want to be that one thing that brings you here.
It's, how connection with another human can really change so much, or having that concrete, again, experience is what, moving from the idea of tour to experience, which I think will be very welcome. So I think this brings us full circle on this amazing, information-rich, multifaceted presentation about your new enterprise, now running tours at Stanford and Berkeley, and that's a new development. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
And then just sharing all this super specific information that I know will be so helpful to our participants and to people who will view this in the future. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for letting us do this. And we want to thank all the participants for taking the time to listen to us.
Thanks so much, everybody. And you'll be able to share a recording sometime this week. We will get that over to you.
Fantastic.
Thanks, you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it.
And feel free to reach out to either Neil or I if you have any questions outside.
And Ember is live. We're ready to have you. We're happy. Awesome.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thank you.